Jujutsu sorcerers are rare. Even in Japan, their homeland, only a few hundred still exist in the modern era. But even within such a small group, their abilities vary wildly. From straw dolls to shikigami, few curse techniques work the same way. That makes it hard to compare sorcerers' powers and skills. When one man makes dolls and the other man plays a mean guitar, how do you know which is better at using cursed energy? Well, never let it be said that we here at Plot Armor shy away from a challenge. In this video, we are going to be counting down the top 10 greatest Jujutsu sorcerers. We will be ranking them based on skill, the versatility of their technique, and their raw power as of chapter 186. Spoiler warning for anyone not caught up to that point in the manga. And note that dead characters are out of the running, same with characters whose power level we haven't witnessed firsthand. Let's get to it. Number 10. At number 10, we have Mr. Boogie Woogie himself, Aoi Toto. A grade 1 sorcerer, Toto has proven himself in repeated battles against grade 1 cursed spirits during the Night of 100 Demons, even taking out a special grade without assistance. Since then, he has gone head to head with the disaster curses Hanami and Mahito. His legend has spread even beyond Kyoto High, a mountain of strength and endurance who has fought everyone that dared try and stop him. On top of that, while he really does give off that vibe, Toto isn't just some muscle-headed brute. Boogie Woogie, his curse technique, is very technical, letting him swap two people or objects with a clap of his hands while both parties maintain their momentum. Toto chooses his uses of it carefully, making calculated, limited swaps rather than spamming the power to overwhelm his opponents. He is just as willing to fake out his opponents by not using the technique to gain an advantage. He's got brains when he cares to use them. So what's a legendary badass doing at the bottom of the list? Well, Toto's probably the biggest victim of that stipulation at the beginning. With Boogie Woogie unusable, his power has taken a nosedive. He's still insanely strong and has cursed energy to spare. He shouldn't be discounted in a fight, but his technique was phenomenally useful. With his current limited access to it, he is far from the threat he once was. There are potential ways for him to make a comeback though. A prosthetic arm, or expanding off his new shadow style knowledge. Toto might be down, but he's not out just yet. Number 9. Next up is our boy and Toto's true bro, Yuji Itadori. And while it is easy to note the sheer power Sukuna's vessel brings to the table, his personal work ethic and dedication are nothing to scoff at. Yuji isn't someone who relies on last-minute power-ups. He pushes himself to get stronger constantly, both through exercise and learning. He learned Cursed Spirit tracking from Nanami, he worked out Black Flash with help from Toto, and has been consistent with his Jujutsu training. So why isn't he higher ranked here? Well, two reasons. Firstly, Yuji hasn't managed to turn his skills at Jujutsu into anything beyond a direct punch. He is very good at punching, enough so that it can usually make up for his focused skill set, but his focus is a weakness. More powerful Jujutsu sorcerers who don't rely on direct confrontation, such as Shikigami summoners or cursed speech users, will be tough for him to deal with. If he's going to improve, some kind of defense or mobility technique is going to be key. And second, there's Sukuna. As strong and as skilled as Yuji gets, the King of Curses is a perpetual problem for him and an eternal risk. On occasion, Sukuna's presence can be useful, but most of the time the risk of unleashing a second Shibuya incident is going to hold Yuji back from tapping into the fullest extent of his curse energy. Unless he can get a firm handle on a situation, Yuji is going to have a problem going all out for a while. And now, before we get into the figures on this list that can give Yuji a run for his money in a fight, we have a question. What do you need in a fight? Yeah, a weapon would be a great start, but there's one thing that keeps everyone safe: plot armor. So be sure to subscribe, punch that like button, and kick the bell. Go ahead and get your own little training arc in. Now on to the next sorcerer. Number 8. Say hello to the first character on the list who hasn't appeared in the anime just yet. Jujutsu High 3rd year, currently suspended following an altercation with the higher-ups, it is Kirara Hoshi. They are a close companion of Fight Club operator and fellow suspended 3rd year, Kenji Hakari, hanging out with him at the Jakinko Fight Club. They even square off with Panda and Megami to defend the security office when Kenji is located. Kirara might not have the raw power of some of the figures on this list, but they are a skilled sorcerer in their own right. Love Rendezvous is a highly impressive and versatile curse technique. Kirara generates a series of 5 marks based off the Southern Cross constellation. These can be applied to either people or objects, resonating with a target's cursed energy. Anyone marked by the technique who doesn't follow the sequence properly cannot approach the latter marks. You can't go from 1 Imai to 5 Gakrux without first reaching marks 2 through 4 in order. Attempting to do so will see you dragged back towards a matching mark instead. Love Rendezvous path: Imai, Acrux, Mimosa, Jinan, Gakrux. This sounds extremely simple and non-threatening until you realize that the marks can be less than obvious. Kirara's fight against Megami and Panda was an unaided 2-on-1, but the plucky delinquent was able to stall 2 of Jujutsu High's strongest sorcerers with it. Unless the targets follow the sequence properly, any person bearing Kirara's mark will be repulsed from the later marks and dragged towards matching marks with unfortunate results. Given that it affects a target's curse energy, projectile techniques and Shikigami are equally unviable unless made to follow the path. Now imagine what Kirara can do with that ability when working with a larger group of combatants. Mark a strong melee fighter like Itadori or Hakari. Mark enemies with earlier marks and the area you want to protect with higher ones. In RPG terms, this is a near ideal control ability, focusing enemy aggro onto your tanks and keeping more vulnerable fighters safe. If given time to set up on the battlefield, you can use it to force an enemy into a trap. Lay out the path to direct them whatever way you choose, while leaving your own fighters free to move about. While they might be weak alone, the sheer potential power and versatility of Love Rendezvous merits a spot on this list. It has directly been compared to one of the strongest known curse techniques. Put them in the midst of their friends, and Kirara will burn bright. Number 7. Next up, it is Yuji's other brother and the oldest of the 3 incarnate death paintings, Choso. It is unclear if the half-human brothers count as Jujutsu Sorcerers, but having inherited the blood manipulation curse technique of the Kamo clan, Choso is close enough. His inhuman physiology in fact gives him a clear advantage over the Kamo clan. As a death painting, Choso naturally converts his curse energy into blood, allowing him to use his curse technique much more freely. His skills speak for themselves. Blood manipulation is a legendarily versatile curse technique with the ability to strike at a distance or reinforce the user's physical form. Choso has been perfecting the art for 150 years. He has developed at least one custom move, Supernova, which causes remote blood explosions following an attack. Even the former Noritoshi Kamo, once a master of blood manipulation, found Choso's strength impressive. This mastery goes beyond training to a hefty combat record. Even with his long-range moves locked on by water, Choso was able to beat Yuji Itadori in hand-to-hand combat. He beat Naoya Zenin in one-on-one, with Naoya being a special grade 1 sorcerer and potential clan head. He's gone up against Kenjaku and was only interrupted by Urame's intervention. He has yet to show the raw power level of the higher ranks on this list, but Choso has faced legendary Jujutsu sorcerers without fear. Underestimate him at your own peril. Number 6. The new head of the Zenin clan. First Jujutsu sorcerer we meet in the story, and the one-man Ryoma Sukuna wants to keep alive for some reason. It is Megami Fushiguro. Megami somehow has both skill and power down almost perfectly. His 10 Shadows technique allows him to draw on a wide variety of Shikigami servants to engage in battle, providing him with options for defense, offense, or transportation. He has proven himself a good tactician, able to combo one Shikigami's moveset into another's on the fly. He can even figure out a complex curse technique while fighting it. He is more than ready to take his enemies head on if he has to though, and can give as good as he gets in hand-to-hand combat. When in need of more raw power, Megami's domain, Chimera Shadow Garden, boosts his technique further still, providing him with the material to summon multiple enhanced Shikigami and travel freely around the area. As powerful as Megami is, however, he still has a way to go before reaching his peak. His domain is still roughly formed, not granting the sure hit effect and not forming the proper containment barrier. And the most powerful Shikigami he can summon, Mahoraga, he cannot control. While the 10 Shadows have purportedly been enough to deal with the 6-eyed Limitless wielder in the past, a more experienced Shikigami wielder will have an edge on Megami for the moment. Number 5. The man with a sword and a plan, Yuta Okotsu is the strongest student of Jujutsu High left standing. His skill set has ludicrous flexibility, but it means nothing without the will to back it up. And Yuta? The dude has will and strength in abundance. First and foremost, there is Rika. Miss Orimoto's spirit may have passed on, but her shadow remains by Yuta's side as the cornerstone of his curse technique. The former Queen of Curses may be the most powerful protector we have seen, fighting alongside Yuta in the culling game against opponents that could annihilate lesser sorcerers with ease. But her presence can empower Yuta in turn. Upon activating his full connection to Rika with the phrase, "Rika, give me everything," Yuta's curse energy goes from potent to near unlimited, leaving him free to pack as much power as he wants into his blows. Yuta may have the most raw curse energy of any combatant on this list. While his copy ability is still not well understood, Yuta has shown himself able to use it on the fly, incorporating enemy curse techniques easily when advantageous and retaining useful ones such as curse speech for later use. While Megami has solid basic hand-to-hand skills, his primary strength is as a tactician. giving orders to the creatures he summons. Yuta is more of a partner with Rika, fighting side by side with her every step of the way. There's just one flaw with this setup. Yuta can only maintain this enhanced connection and thus the height of his power for 5 minutes. He is far from helpless without it, but that link is very much Yuta's ace in the hole. A fight going beyond that timeline is going to push him to his limits, and there are Jujutsu Sorcerers at Yuta's level who do not need to worry about such a limitation. Number 4. Too strong for Jujutsu High, it is former 3rd year Kenji Hakari. Creator of the Jachinko Fight Club and Kira Hoshi's partner in crime, Kenji is a man of passion, living for the fever and excitement of risk. He says what he feels, does what he wants, and will punch Jujutsu officials if he thinks they're wrong, hence his suspension from Jujutsu High. His domain expansion may be one of the strongest on this list. It's certainly involved. To simplify, Idle Death Gamble turns the battle arena into a flashy pachinko game. Attacks trigger a draw, potentially landing a jackpot. It is far less openly potent than most domains we have seen, seemingly focused on flash and distraction. But that jackpot result changes everything. It collapses the domain, but grants Hakari unlimited curse energy. Once it has been hit, Kenji has a full tank for reinforcing his blows, and is able to use reverse curse technique reflexively to heal his wounds, granting him a Wolverine-like healing factor. But wait, it somehow gets better for Hakari. This effect only lasts for the duration of the Private Pure Love Train theme, a total of 4 minutes and 11 seconds. While this seems to put Hakari on a firm time limit, thanks to his unlimited curse reserve, he can manipulate his domain again as soon as the theme starts. So long as he keeps hitting that jackpot, his unlimited curse state remains intact, the healing factor is up, and Hakari becomes all but indestructible. Yuta himself has admitted that Kenji, while worked up, is stronger than him. A second jackpot would allow him to outlast Yuta's Rika connection. While there are many opponents with more versatile skill sets on the list, overcoming Idle Death Gamble essentially requires a KO before Hakari gets his combo going. However, that weakness is something Kenji understands. He has shown himself able to stall opponents very effectively, and is tough even without relying on his domain. He won't be easy prey. So, who can hope to fight the man with unlimited energy? Well, our top 3 would give even Hakari trouble. Number 3. Actions speak louder than words. Hypothesizing can only get you so far. The best way to test the limits of your ability is a decisive victory over a strong opponent. And nobody has managed a more impressive victory across the run of Jujutsu Kaisen than the new sorcerer killer, Maki Zenin. After all, she broke the Zenin clan, one of the greatest forces in the Jujutsu world, a family of fully trained and high-grade Jujutsu sorcerers. 2 military groups, the Kukuru unit and the Hei, the latter entirely composed of grade 1 sorcerers. They were annihilated in a brutal 3-chapter onslaught, all at the hands of a woman without one speck of cursed energy. Mai sacrificing her life lifted all limits on Maki's heavenly restriction, dramatically increasing her strength and speed. In her current state, Maki's superhuman reflexes make a mockery of the Zenin frame projection inherited technique, being able to view each of the technique's 24 movements per second and matches Noya's supersonic speed. While her enhanced strength is more difficult to track, we can get some idea of Maki's other abilities from her earlier duel against her father, Ogi Zenin. Even without her full power, relying solely on skill and smarts, Maki is able to break the sword of a veteran grade 1 sorcerer. If Maki's strength and reflexes prior to her power-up allowed her to roughly equal her father, it reinforces how much further she has gotten now, enough to kill Ogi in an instant. Somewhere Toji Fushiguro is looking down on the smoldering remains of the Zenin clan stronghold and busting a gut over this, as he very well should. Rest well, Toji, your successor is here, and the Jujutsu world will tremble at her shadow. Number 2. The man, the myth, the legend himself who can beat just about anyone, even while blindfolded. Satoru Gojo is the most powerful Jujutsu sorcerer to an extent that borders on surreal. He holds both of the Gojo clan's inherited techniques, the 6 eyes, allowing him to draw upon the limitless to its fullest extent, unlimited in terms of power required or precision. It was theorized that his birth increased the power of all curses to compensate. When Satoru Gojo was born, the balance of the world was altered. The raw power of his curse energy is off the charts, but let's go over exactly why fighting this man is such a goddamn headache. Gojo's most basic technique, Infinity, makes him impossible to hit. warping space to slow anything coming towards him to a standstill. Reinforcing it into Curse Technique Lapse Blue or Reverse Curse Technique Red allows him unparalleled battlefield control, repelling or pulling everything in the area to a single point with catastrophic force. Combining the two results in Hollow Technique Purple, a devastating blast of pure energy that leaves the battlefield a ruin. And all of this is backed by effectively unlimited Curse Energy, thanks to the 6 Eyes lowering his Curse Energy expenditure to almost zero. He can teleport, he can blast you into nothing. And if you somehow have the physical strength or reflexes to endure against Gojo, his domain expansion, Unlimited Void, strikes his foes mentally, forcing them to process infinite stimuli and leaving them unable to act. No amount of strength can get you past his effect. The only way out is direct physical contact with Gojo, and thanks to Infinity, that is not happening if you are his opponent. The one time we've seen Satoru push to his upper limit is during the Shibuya incident. Kenjaku's tactics against him demonstrate Gojo's strength. While the forces fought their hardest against Satoru, going all out with their strongest attacks, Kenjaku only expects him to buy him 20 minutes. Even that relied heavily on psychological manipulation, ultimately forcing him to sacrifice innocent lives to proceed. When he was forced to confront Gojo personally, Kenjaku's plan remained focused on stalling him and relied on a technicality of Prison Realm's function to succeed. He might be sealed away, but Gojo's shadow hangs over Jujutsu Kaisen. When you think of powerful sorcerers, he is the one to beat. So why isn't he number 1? What's the weak point that holds the unstoppable man back from the pinnacle of Jujutsu sorcery? We'll get to that, but first, some extra contenders who have their own claims to greatness. Honorable mentions. First up is Sukuna. We have not witnessed him at full power just yet. While a 20-finger Unleashed Sukuna would be a contender for the number 1 spot, all we have for now is his capability while sealed within Yuji. There's also a number of elder Jujutsu sorcerers we haven't seen at their full power. Gakuganji, Uraume, and Tsukumo are all likely potential contenders for the list if they decide to step into the field more directly. Toge Inumaki is in a similar boat. His Curse Speech is an amazingly versatile technique. It can eliminate cursed spirits in mass, stop his opponents dead in their tracks, or simply knock someone out. Unfortunately, while we have seen a fair amount of what his powers can do, Inumaki hasn't gotten into an extended solo fight since the events of Jujutsu Kaisen 0. What we have seen since suggests he might be a contender, but there isn't enough evidence of his power yet to place him on this list. Culling game participants are wildcards. We have seen one battle from each of them so far. While their movements have been impressive, they have mostly been faced with enemies who place highly on this list. They could merit a spot if they come back and we get a firmer idea of their relative power level. Specifically, we should note those who achieved high scores within the game. Kashimo, Higaruma, and Ishigori, who amassed 200, 102, and 77 points respectively. Finally, there is the Devil of Sorcery, Kenjaku. While potentially able to go toe-to-toe with anyone on this list, Curse Spirit manipulation means he is reliant on how many Curse Spirits he currently has on hand. Geto utilized 4,461 curses he had with him to power Uzumaki in his final battle with Yuta. Impressive, but that is closer to 2/3 of his full capacity. He had already unleashed at least 2,000 curses against Shinjuku and Kyoto, lowering his power for their confrontation. More recently, failing to learn from Geto's mistake, Kenjaku released an extremely large number of spirits at the climax of the Shibuya incident. He may have unleashed as many as 10 million before departing. Some of those come from the ripple effect of mass idol transfiguration, but at least some have been released directly from Geto's collection. Unless we have confirmation Kenjaku's reserves are back in place, we can't be sure of his power level and thus his rank. Now for our final pick. Number 1. Satoru Gojo cannot change the world. He is the most powerful Jujutsu sorcerer. Everyone speaks his name in fear. There isn't a single fighter on this list who could safely deal with Infinity, let alone the more powerful techniques of Limitless. But even with his mastery of Jujutsu, Gojo as a person is largely defined by what he can't do. He can't change the minds of Jujutsu higher-ups. He can't stop every cursed spirit. He can't even save one everyday girl from a bullet and it eats him up. Gojo stands as a testament to the fact that raw power alone is not enough to accomplish anything. In his defense, he's worked on that. Gojo's role as a teacher in Jujutsu High is his way of trying to affect change, inspiring the next generation to do better and create wider progress in Jujutsu society. He knows what needs to happen to accomplish his goals, but he cannot do it alone. Can't change everything by himself, short of just giving up and killing everyone he meets. Master Tengen, meanwhile, can change the world more fundamentally. All he would have to do is simply stop. Stop maintaining the barriers and seals that have kept Japan safe since ancient times. Stop caring about the fate of the world. This ancient sorcerer is largely responsible for maintaining the Jujutsu world's status quo. His barriers defend Jujutsu High, keep as many cursed objects as possible safely contained, and support the work of other sorcerers. At least 2 groups have attempted to use Tengen to upend the Jujutsu world, and were willing to go up against the Jujutsu establishment to do so. Following these events and the loss of the Star Plasma vessel, Tengen's form shifted, leading to his current state of near transcendence, only possessing a physical body due to his barrier techniques. Kenjaku is planning to use that transcendent state to trigger a mass awakening of the human race as Jujutsu sorcerers by merging them with Tengen. While Gojo may be capable of such feats in theory, we have yet to see his powers hit a global scale like this. Such is the price of transcendence. Gojo is powerful, but Tengen is power. Gojo strives to change the status quo, Tengen strives to preserve it. While Gojo would likely win in a fight, Tengen's achievements and significance give him a status and importance to the world that outweighs even Satoru. Which is why Master Tengen is the greatest Jujutsu sorcerer of all as of chapter 186. So these are the top 10 sorcerers in Jujutsu Kaisen. Agree? Disagree? Feel free to lay out your list in the comments. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.